The Elephant's Child. In the high and far-off times, the elephant, oh best beloved, had no trunk. He had only a blackish, bulgy nose as big as a boot that he could wriggle about from side to side, but he couldn't pick up things with it. But there was one elephant, a new elephant, an elephant's child, who was full of satiable courteosity, and that means he asked ever so many questions. And he lived in Africa, and he filled all Africa with his satiable courteosities. He asked his tall aunt, the ostrich, why her tail feathers grew just so. And his tall aunt, the ostrich, spanked him with her hard, hard claws. He asked his tall uncle, the giraffe, what made his skin spotty. And his tall uncle, the giraffe, spanked him with his hard, hard hoof. And still he was full of satiable courteosity. He asked his broad aunt, the hippopotamus, why her eyes were red, and his broad aunt, the hippopotamus, spanked him with her broad, broad hoof. And he asked his hairy uncle, the baboon, why melons tasted just so, and his hairy uncle, the baboon, spanked him with his hairy, hairy paw. And still he was full of satiable courteosity. He asked questions about everything that he saw or heard or felt or smelt or touched, and all his uncles and his aunts spanked him. And still he was full of satiable courteosity. One fine morning, in the middle of the precession of the equinoxes, this satiable elephant's child asked a new fine question that he had never asked before. He asked,
what does the crocodile have for dinner?
Then everybody said, in a loud and dreadful tone, and they spanked him immediately and directly without stopping. For a long time. By and by, when that was finished, he came upon Colo Colo Bird, sitting in the middle of a wait-a-bit thorn bush, and he said,
my father has spanked me, and my mother has spanked me. All my aunts and uncles have spanked me for my satiable courteosity, and still I want to know what the crocodile has for dinner.
Then Colo Colo Bird said with a mournful cry, go to the banks of the great grey, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, and find out. That very next morning, this satiable elephant's child said to all his dear families,
goodbye. I am going to the great grey, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, to find out what the crocodile has for dinner.
And they all spanked him once more for luck.
Oh.
Though he asked them most politely to stop.
Please stop.
He went from Grahamstown to Kimberley, and from Kimberley to Karma's country, and from Karma's country he went east by north, eating melons all the time. Till at last he came to the banks of the great grey, green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees, precisely as Colo Colo Bird had said. Now you must know and understand, O best beloved, that till that very week and day and hour and minute, this satiable elephant's child had never seen a crocodile, and didn't know what one was like. It was all his satiable courteosity. The first thing that he found was a bicolored python rock snake curled round a rock.
Excuse me,
said the elephant's child most politely,
but have you seen such a thing as a crocodile in these promiscuous parts?
Have I seen a crocodile?
said the bicolored python rock snake in a voice of dreadful scorn.
What will you ask me next?
Excuse me,
said the elephant's child,
but could you kindly tell me what he has for dinner?
Then the bicolored python rock snake uncoiled himself very quickly from the rock and spanked the elephant's child with his scalesome, flailsome tail.
Oh! That's odd,
said the elephant's child.
Because my father and my mother, my uncle and my aunt, not to mention my other aunt, the hippopotamus, and my other uncle, the baboon, have all spanked me for my satiable courteosity. And I suppose this is the same thing.
So he said goodbye very politely to the bicolored python rock snake and helped to coil him up on the rock again, and went on, a little warm but not at all astonished, eating melons and throwing the rind about because he couldn't pick it up, till he trod on what he thought was a log of wood. At the very edge of the great grey-green, greasy Limpopo River, all set about with fever trees. But it was really the crocodile, oh best beloved, and the crocodile winked one eye like this.
Excuse me,
Said the elephant's child most politely.
but do you happen to have seen a crocodile in these promiscuous parts?
Then the crocodile winked the other eye, and lifted half his tail out of the mud. And the elephant's child stepped back most politely, because he didn't wish to be spanked again.
Come hither, little one.
Said the crocodile.
Why do you ask such things?
Excuse me,
Said the elephant's child most politely.
but my father has spanked me, my mother has spanked me, not to mention my tall aunt the ostrich and my tall uncle the giraffe, who can kick ever so hard, as well as my broad aunt the hippopotamus and my hairy uncle the baboon, and including the bicolored python rock snake with the scalesome, flailsome tail just up the bank, who spanks harder than any of them. And so, if it's quite all the same to you, I don't want to be spanked anymore.
Come hither, little one.
Said the crocodile.
For I am the crocodile.
And he wept crocodile tears to show it was quite true. Then the elephant's child grew all breathless and panting, and kneeled down on the bank and said,
You are the very person I have been looking for all these long days. Will you please tell me what you have for dinner?
Come hither, little one,
said the crocodile.
and I'll whisper.
Then the elephant's child put his head down close to the crocodile's musky, tusky mouth, and the crocodile caught him by his little nose,
Oh!
which up to that very week, day, hour, and minute had been no bigger than a boot, though much more useful.
I think,
Said the crocodile, and he said it between his teeth like this.
I think today I will begin with elephant's child.
At this, oh best beloved, the elephant's child was much annoyed, and he said, speaking through his nose like this,
Let go! You are hurting me!
Then the bicolored python rock snake scuffled down from the bank and said,
My young friend, if you do not now, immediately and instantly, pull as hard as ever you can, it is my opinion that your acquaintance in the large patterned leather ulster
and by this he meant the crocodile,
will jerk you into yonder limpid stream before you can say Jack Robinson.
This is the way bicolored python rock snakes always talk.